All right, welcome Ben Chason. How are we doing today, Ben? How's things going for you?
Doing very well. And you?
Doing great, doing great. I'm so glad that we got this working. I know it was an ordeal, but I'm glad that we're open here. Ben, I want to kind of get right to it. Talk about opening Taft. We're getting ready to do 41 at Taft. Talk about opening Taft and some of the things that happened with it, and just go from the beginning.
Well, when I was informed that I was the first band director at Taft High School, Roger Harris, who was the first principal at Taft, called me, and I got the phone call while I was working as the assistant band director at Clark. And so it was very, very exciting for me. And he said, "Okay, Ben, you need to get some things going real quick, like the uniforms that you see behind you." That was one that I designed. I used the basis of the very first uniform that Clark had for it, made some changes like the shoulder drape on the shoulder that had the name Taft, and designed the uniform with the help of the people from the uniform company here in San Antonio, Sal Frank, who are no longer in business. And after that, then we had to pick a school song, and that was, of course, Navy Blue, which is what the school song is based on. Yeah, it is. But the alma mater was written by Fred Oldencott, and that has not been changed, I believe, since the school opened up. So we got those things going, and then the next thing was to get in touch with the band directors at Marshall High School, at Holmes High School, and at Jay, because we had a couple kids from Holmes and Jay, and the majority of them came from Marshall. And Marshall High School, the band director, James Machuco, was very helpful. I mean, he had a list of the kids that he knew were coming, and then I got to meet the kids, and we talked with them, and he allowed me to have class time with them, and we were able to set things up and go from there. And so the challenges of opening up the new school were not only the basic things like a school song, a fight song, a uniform, but getting a parent organization started, which we did in the September of that year. Again, it was very, very exciting. I found one of the kids who was going to be in the first Taft band. His name was Michael Wagner. And Michael fit the uniform that we had made, the sample. And so I had Michael wear the uniform, and we took it over to the school board meeting to show the uniform off. And the people on the school board, the board members, were very interested in it. And they said, "Are you a student of his from Clark?" And Michael said, "No, I'm currently at Marshall, and I will be in the first Taft band." And so they kind of liked that, and they kind of liked the fact that I was getting Taft kids involved immediately. There were 77 kids in the band. There were supposed to be more, but there was an area that did not wish to come to Taft, and I'll leave that alone. And so they were very adamant about staying at Marshall, so they did. And it was okay because it was really a blessing in disguise, because the kids that I had that came, none of them really wanted to leave Marshall. And it's understandable. I mean, that's their school. They'd spent 2 and 3 years there. And so if they were a sophomore or going to be a sophomore or a junior, they're having to pick up and go to a new school. But they were positive and they understood. So the next thing we did was we had to find a place for the kids to get together. And Bob Lewis, who was the music coordinator at the time, arranged with one of the elementary schools. I don't remember the name of the school, but it's not too far from where Zachary Middle School is. But nonetheless, the principal there was very helpful. She turned over the cafeteria to us. We met there for the first week of June. Every band member that was going to be there came, and we had the first sounds of the Taft band right there. And it was exciting. The instrumentation was kind of odd, but we worked around it. We had an instrumentation that had like 4 clarinets, 12 flutes, 4 French horns. I don't remember how many trumpets we had, but enough for all the parts. Trombone, baritone, couple of tubas, and a percussion section made up of all freshmen and one boy who wanted to be in the band that did not play anything. So he learned how to play bass drum, and he did a very good job of it.
Right on.
And then, of course, the school wasn't ready when they said it was going to be. So we had our actual August band start in the gym at Gustafson Stadium. And we used the parking lot. They had it lined off, the back part of it, and that's where we started putting drill together. And it was very, very exciting to do. I mean, it was an interesting day. It was an interesting time. And, like I say, it was a lot of fun. Frank Horaci was selected as my first assistant, and he was there throughout the June band at the elementary school, and the August band. And it was like the third week of August when we were told we could go on campus at Taft. And we walked into a band hall that was loaded with boxes. What is your A1 band hall? The first band hall was the band hall that was available. And it was nothing but boxes of equipment, instruments. Uniforms had not been delivered yet, but they were going to be there shortly. And so everything that you can imagine a new school having to go through, we did.
Yeah. And it sounds like you did it in real close to time to the first day of class. That's pretty impressive to get everything up and going that close.
What were our options?
Well, no, yeah.
You really had no choice. We started a booster club, and by the way, from day one, the Taft Band Booster Club was incredibly good. And we had people who said, we will help you fit the kids with the uniforms and help them get into the uniforms, and they did. We never had to worry about uniform fittings while I was the band director at Taft High School. The boosters did that, and they did it very well. They took care of all the necessities. Anything that we needed to have, any adjustments that need to be made, they fitted the kids. They would pin the uniforms up, and we would send them out to the tailor, and it was always taken care of just beautifully.
Yeah, we still benefit greatly from the great booster club we have. And
okay, I shut the phone off.
Oh, good. Yeah, the booster club is still going strong, man. Those parents really are what makes the band. I feel like today, what I'm experiencing.
The Taft Band Boosters are second to none. When Leland Chirac became my assistant, and he was in, this was the first part of August when he first started coming in for rehearsals and what have you. He said, okay, Ben, what do I need to do about uniforms? And I said, don't worry about the uniforms. He said, well, I'll start fitting them. I said, don't worry about it. And then about the third day of summer band, about 12 mamas walked in, and all of a sudden kids started going, and he said, Ben, what's going on? I said, that's who takes care of uniforms. They'll never have to do anything with uniforms. And then we had a group that we called the Roadies, which are still very important to the Taft Band Boosters. Mm-hmm. And they also did a lot of maintenance of things for us. And then one day they walked in, and all of a sudden percussion equipment started being wheeled out. And Leland looked at me and said, what's going on? I said, go out and see what they're doing. And he came back and he said, I can't believe it. They're repairing equipment. I said, they take care of this equipment in such a way that they save the district money, and we do not have to worry about it. Mm-hmm. I said, most of these people, one of these gentlemen was in the percussion section in high school himself, and I don't have to worry about anything percussion where he's concerned. And I mean, it just blew him away that the band boosters took care of all these things.
Yeah, it's coming in when I joined about 4 years ago, having been at different programs where either I was the one that had to load everything or I was the one that had to repair everything, coming in and just seeing this crew of people just being
That's right.
Yeah, it's just a crew. It's just a modern day posse. Like, they're just like, hey, what do you need? And then they just do it, and they're great.
And by the way, they weren't a pressure group, and I imagine they aren't now. They are absolutely phenomenal.
Oh, they're the best.
And I can't begin to think of what would have happened in those early days of Taft if I didn't have those mamas that came in and took care of the uniforms for me and made sure that everything was going correctly.
Yeah.
They knew how to do it, and they did it well.
They still do. And one of the things we're getting going with this alumni group is not just for horn players or color guard members and band members, is also like the roadies and the band boosters. And so, because there's a lot of friendships today, like we have someone who helps coordinate TMEA who's not had a child in band for the past, several years, and still just really a part of the group and still has a lot of camaraderie with everybody. So we definitely want to make sure that we get those people out here.
Are you talking about coordinating the effects at the TMEA convention? Okay, well, that's another interesting story. You see, there was another high school in North Side that originally was doing that, but they couldn't get parents to do it. And so they informed TMEA that they needed help, that they couldn't do it. Well, TMEA's thought about the time was to give it, and their thought was they would look for another school. And the school they were thinking about was Winston Churchill High School. And so they called me and they said, what do I think about that? And I said, we have a very, very viable booster club. May I ask them? And I said, I have a feeling that they're going to do it. So they said, sure. So I called an emergency meeting of our executive board. I explained the situation, and they said, absolutely, we'll be glad to do the chaperone duties and the watching all the entrance areas and everything else. And that's how it started. I think it started about 3 years before I retired, when the boosters took over doing that for TMEA. And of course, the nice thing is they were paid something by TMEA for doing it, but we never had an issue with getting volunteers to be there to help.
Yeah, it's that group of people, man. They're just the best. Real quick, how many years were you at Taft? Because you started in '85.
I was the head band director for 14 years, and I retired in '99.
99.
That was the first year the Taft band went to state.
Yes. Yeah, it's a lot to cover. One of the things that is still popular today with the Taft band is this idea of make it happen. How did that come about? How did make it happen come about?
Make it happen was a motto that I saw one day. I had to have my car repaired at Bachelor Cadillac, and they had a banner hanging in the service department manager, and it was make it happen. And so I came back to the band the next day, and I said, we don't have a motto. Like some of the other schools say, get it, and all this other stuff. I said, what would you think about the motto, make it happen? And they liked it.
Yeah.
And so that's been the motto for 41 years, coming on 41 years.
Awesome. Yeah, it's still something today that we strive. We've updated a little bit. Like, we talk about our pursuit of chasing perfection, knowing that we'll catch excellence and that we will make it happen. Still today, make it happen is how we dismiss rehearsals. It's just something that has lived on for 40 years, and that's pretty cool that it's meant so much to so many people that it's not worth changing, and it's gotten the job done for the band program throughout the years.
I think Greg is the fourth band director that Taft has had, if my counting is correct. And every single band director liked the saying, the motto, make it happen. Nobody moves to change it. They left it alone.
So as you were going, like we talked about a little bit of the challenges of opening Taft and how delayed some things were. What were some obstacles that you and your director team throughout the years had to overcome to, make it happen and build that program up from 70 members to, I think it got over to close to 300 or more?
The year I retired, we had 329 kids in the band.
Wow.
That was the year that O'Connor opened up. And so I knew that year we had a very good chance of taking the band to state. Early on in Taft's career, the shows that we did, the band was only about 135 to 140 kids. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, when the area around Taft High School started exploding population-wise, that's when we started, and Com Arts opened up, that's when we started getting numbers. I think the year before I retired, we were at 200, and then after that, we were over 300. And by the way, that was done with two directors. And we had Brian Ruiz, who was a band director with Northside, who did our percussion. We had a special ed teacher at Taft, who was a former color guard person herself. When she was in high school, she did the color guard for us, and we made things work. The hard thing was, obviously, like in any band program, funding it, getting money to do the things you needed to do. And at that time, we were not allowed to charge a band fee. It's something that we'd all asked about, and Northside told us, no. If they're not going to fund it or the boosters are not going to fund it, we're not going to charge the kids for it. So that's what we existed on. And so there were times that funding was a challenging thing. Like, for instance, the year we went to, every year I would have the show written, and I had to take the money for that out of our supply account. Money for purchasing music, any special arrangements had to be paid for under that account. The boosters would help a lot, but let's face it, at that time, there wasn't a lot of money being generated because there were just no avenues to do it. Our only source of income for the boosters was the concession stands. And so that's why I think they call it something like the Northside Booster Association, which does it now. But at one time, it was originally from the Band Booster Club, and so we were able to get shortcomings taken care of.
That's good. Yeah, I think the way they do it now is everybody's on a rotation, and you get called. I think I saw a posting on the the booster page about a couple weeks ago about, hey, we've still got one more thing to do, and yeah,
Yep.
they just always come through.
Don't forget that was before we had the computers and before we had web pages and booster pages.
Oh, man, things have changed so much, and
My last year at Taft, we took roll by taking an actual sheet, putting absentee names on it, and hanging it on the door. I don't think they started using computerized roll taking until the next year. The last couple of years I was at Taft, we were doing computer grades, and that was also interesting too. I remember the first year that Taft opened up, we had a lot of intelligent young kids, first year seniors, juniors, and then first year seniors, who really knew a great deal about this newfangled thing called computers. And sometimes they got in trouble with those computers because they got in the middle of doing things that wasn't really 100%, say, kosher, but it was humorous.
I bet, man. Talking about the students who were into things and whatnot, do you have the campus has recently at Taft? They've recently posted pictures of like some very famous alumni, people who are movie stars, people who are sound producers, who went to Taft, and it's obvious that going to Taft can take you places. Can you think of any alumni that stick out in your mind that have went above and beyond in their life and kind of excelled in what they do? And
Sure.
yeah.
For instance, one young man that when the jazz ensemble played at TMEA a couple of years ago, he was invited to come down and solo with the band, and that's Freddie Mendoza.
Freddie, yeah.
Freddie was the drum major for the first 2 years the school was open. He was an all-state band member for his 7th grade year. And then his 12th grade year, Freddie created an interesting situation for TMEA. That was a time where you could audition for any and all groups. And so he did. Thing was, he made all-state in everything, in jazz, in band, and in orchestra. And I was getting phone calls from all the sponsors or the people that were forming these organizations. Well, what's Freddie going to do? What's Freddie? Well, I knew what Freddie wanted to do. Well, you got to talk to be in band. No, he should be in orchestra because he's a wonderful trombone player for orchestra. Well, that's not what he wanted. He did jazz,
Yeah.
and that's what he wanted. And so they developed a rule, and I tend to call it the Freddie rule, because once you make a district band, you have to declare what you wish to try out for, so they don't have that conflict again of somebody like a Freddie Mendoza coming in there and earning a seat in jazz, in band, in an orchestra.
I'd heard about that before, but I didn't know he made all three. I knew it was band and jazz.
He
But
made all three of them.
wow.
And that was his senior year.
Yeah.
Then we've had other people. The first jazz guitar player that we had that made all-state jazz, Richard Baisden, went to school in Boston to get his degree. And when he finished the degree, he finished it in 4 years. When he came out of it, he joined the Air Force because he wanted to play. Well, Richard has now been in the Air Force, I'm guessing, over 20 years. By the way, his rank is that of an E9. He is the highest ranking enlisted man that's available in rank-wise in the Air Force. And he is stationed at the Air Force Academy, where he is the NCOIC in charge. His first love is still jazz. And I've teased him before. I said, because, well, Richard, you made aria on baritone. He says, don't tell anybody I play baritone. He said, I picked one up. He says, guitar is my thing.
I have to reach out to him. Absolutely. I want to maybe see if we can get him to come down or be a part of something. Absolutely.
Well, if it had to do with guitar, he would.
Yeah.
He would.
Yeah, we've expanded the jazz program over the past couple of years, and we've almost.
I've seen it. I've seen it. It's incredible.
Yeah, we've almost got enough for 3, so we're trying to make sure, but definitely any kind of guitar work or any kind of guitar lessons, if you will, about how to go in and comp appropriately within that would definitely be clutch. Maybe we can reach out to him.
He is a phenomenal performer, and he loves to perform. We had a number of students make All-State, a number of students, who made area band. We have band directors in Northside, one of whom you knew, who used to be a feeder school for Wagner.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no.
John Robbins.
Yeah, John, yes.
And I mean, he in his own right, has developed as being a wonderful band director, and we have others. We have a young man who's an all-state trumpet player. His name is Kevin Yadley. Kevin is a band director of the middle school at Lake Travis High School.
Oh, okay.
In the Austin area.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, Allstate is just was a mean for a lot of these kids. It was just an amazing thing to watch the program develop and watch these kids, these young people develop. You can't call them kids anymore because heck, they're in their 50s.
Yeah, being in that age bracket, I know how you feel there. You can't call them kids anymore.
Yeah, well, considering that Taft is going into its 41st year,
Yeah.
and I was 40 when I opened it up, and you can figure how old I am.
Well, you're doing great for that age, man. You're still around with us. I love it. Can you describe, like, you talked a little bit about, like, the computers weren't going on until the last couple years of school, but, like, beyond that, what would you say is different with how band programs existed then and how they exist now? What are some of the challenges that you see, or
Well,
how do you feel like it's different?
Well, it's different because back then, most band directors wrote their own shows. We would sit down with light boards and chart things out. And I know the first year Taft opened up, I did an awful lot of writing for the first show. Matter of fact, had a young band student who's a band director now who's really interested in learning how to chart. And so we would sit down on the band hall floor and play What If with a light board. By the way, his name is Eddie Gonzalez, and Eddie is a band director in the New Braunfels area. And so he was a marvelous French horn player. He has his degree from UTSA, and as a band director, he's just about done it all himself. Whereas now we have shows written for us, and we pay a lot of money to have them done. Band directors had to do that themselves. So that's one big difference. Another big difference is the music. Back then, most music was all published music, and you took bits and pieces from it to build your show. Now, majority of the music is all specially written for each school and for each event. I know when we did the Pirates of Lake Mendota, the year we went to state, that came from the Madison Scouts. Taft High School bought the rights for that show, and they sold it to us. They gave us the percussion book for it. Brian Ruiz used that percussion book to arrange all the percussion work for that show. And Fred Oldencott wrote the band arrangements because he had drum corps scores. And so he had to change the scores into what the high school band could play. And so that was things that are different. Like the first several years, we were picking music of things that were written. I remember the first year the Taft Band made sweepstakes. We did our marching show was based on variations on a Korean folk song. And what's her name? Last name is Gomez. Anyway, she arranged that for us. And her brother did the percussion book for us, Al Gomez.
So it seemed like that back when Taft first opened, the idea of shifting it from being music focused to more visually focused and having a theme based off of a visual idea or concept versus just maybe a musical theme and concept.
An interesting thing, when I was interviewed for the job, Principal Roger Harris asked me, he said, "Are you interested in patterns in motion or are you interested in core?" And I said, well, patterns in motion is everything that patterns in motion uses, it can be used in core. But the concept of doing a core show is where the Taft Band needs to be, because that's what's going to be tomorrow, and that's true. That's what happened. But then again, let's face it, early core shows where the band had an equal number of people. You had a right side, you had a left side. The percussion marched up and down the field on the middle, and the right and left side did the pictures and what have you. And that's when we started with our color guard, and dance steps and everything else started becoming more involved each year from that point on to what it is now. I mean, let's face it, you have to have today, in order to do a real good show, you have to have dance specialists, and you have to have people that can do the dance routines in concert with the flags and the band itself. I mean, what you do now is a total presentation that was just in its infancy in the mid-'80s.
What is still exciting to you about music education? Because I know you still judge, and I know you still get out and do some clinics and stuff like that. What's still exciting to you about music education?
Well, what's exciting is the fact that some people still ask me to come out. And, it's fun. Let's face it. How many people want an 80-year-old man running around talking to their kids? And, I mean, I realize that and I understand that. for what it's worth, I did judge marching contests this year.
Mm-hmm.
And I have judged concert and sight reading, not this school year, but the last school year. I have decided that this year will be the last year I will do any judging. As a matter of fact, my judging credentials will not be renewed this year at my choice, because I really feel that there have been a lot more people that have retired that are more familiar with the literature than I am familiar with. And why should I take up a space from somebody that is current? Because I don't consider myself current. I can listen to a band, I can understand what the band is doing, but I'm not totally current with the literature. And out of respect to the kids and the effort that they're putting in, they need to have judges that are very current to what's going on. And so I'm tickled for the amount of work that I've done. I'm tickled for the amount of trust that people have had in me. But like all good things, something has to come to an end. And for me, this is it. I don't plan to, just crawl under a rock someplace. There's a couple of schools that say, well, if we ask, will you come listen? I said, absolutely. But I mean, it's time for me to step aside.
Okay, that's some news that will go out to people here. But I know you still got a lot to offer people, so I hope they do keep inviting you out. Ben, is there anything else you'd like to say for any like the alumni or current members or staff of the Taft band?
I think having an alumni organization is a dream come true. We just never had time to do that 26 years ago when I retired. With just 2 directors, we had all we could do just getting things done. The last couple of years, we had 3 concert bands for 2 directors, and we did. Mm-hmm. And the results we had were incredibly good. But the fact that you guys are thinking enough to do an alumni group and just the positive things that can come from that alumni group, it's just limitless. I imagine you'll have alumni that would say, hey, let me know if you need us to come down and help with TMEA. Hey, let us know if you need us to come in and help fit uniforms. Hey, if you need us to do anything. Because they're very good people. They're loyal people.
They are very loyal and very good. We are so blessed to have a wonderful community, and with starting this alumni group, we're just trying to expand that community and just see if there's any way that we can continue to support our current members, and while giving praise and remembering where we came from. We know that starting year 41, year 41 wouldn't be possible without year 1 and what you guys did and started. So we definitely want to make sure that we pay homage to the people before us.
Year 1 was an interesting year. That was the year that we had to go. There was no such thing as a non-varsity band the first year. So my Taft 77-piece first-year band had to go as a varsity band. And back then, bands didn't just get first divisions. And you know what I'm talking about when I say that.
Yep.
Marching contest Taft won 2, we got a 2. But in concert season, we broke the mold. We got a 1-1-2. Which means we got a first division in concert the first year. And that was amazing because first year bands just don't do that, and so it was just absolutely amazing. And of course now, had there been a non-varsity designation, I'm pretty sure that first band would have made a first division because they did so many nice things. Biggest drawback was we were a 77-piece band going against an average band of over 160, 170 kids.
Yeah.
So, I mean, really, they did beautifully, and they were a great group, and the kids tried very, very hard. And, like I said, they were loyal to where they came from, and you can't expect that to change, nor would I expect that to change. But they were also loyal in trying to start a new program and starting new traditions, which they did very well.
Yes. Well, Ben, I don't want to take up too much more of your time, but I do want to say thank you for going through the process of getting this going a little bit earlier.
That was interesting. Computers and I just do not gel.
I feel the same way when I'm in rehearsal and something goes down. It's like dealing with the electronic stuff is definitely hard sometimes, but I really want to thank you for meeting with me. And Ben, I've known you from my time when I was at Wagner.
That's right.
And I've really always just enjoyed talking to you and getting to know you and hearing all your stories. And so I always say this to the kids that graduate, like, don't be a stranger. Like, definitely let's make sure that we keep doing things like this. Is there a chance we'll see you at the alumni game?
If I'm alive and taking nourishment.
Right on.
Keep me posted.
We will. We will. We would love to. We're going to try and reach out to all the directors over time, and as well as reaching alumni. So when we're done, I'm going to post this out, and hopefully we'll see this on the social medias and the YouTubes and stuff like that. So we're going to try and get this going. But Ben, thank you once again for meeting with me, and I look forward to seeing and hearing from you soon.
Okay, one last thing,
Yes,
Jeremy,
sir.
if I may.
Go ahead.
All the Taft Band alumni from 1985 through 1999. You know who you are. You'd be very welcome. Everybody, they would love to see you. I know I've been amazed at how many alumni that I am in contact with on Facebook, and we get to talk all the time, and we still keep touch. But come on and get to see what's happening with the Taft Band today. The Taft Band to me has become a very, very impressive band, more so than I ever imagined it could. But let's face it, the times have changed. The school has changed. The school has changed for the best. And I look at what you have going on, and I just wish we had had a lot of that at that time. But then again, traditions don't just happen, they're made.
Yes, sir.
And so for all you guys that help make the traditions, don't be a stranger. Come in and say hello.
Yes, please. And if you're curious about how to get more information about this, we have an Instagram account that's at Taft Raider Alumni Band. And we also have a link to the alumni band on our main website, taftraiderband.org. There's going to be some more information coming out as more people sign up. We're going to have an RSVP for the game and the social we'll do the following night after the alumni game. And we're just going to try and make this an annual thing and just celebrate people and celebrate music and celebrate Taft.
It sounds like it's just going to be a wonderful, wonderful experience. And it's something, like I said, that is long overdue in coming, and I just hope it becomes a huge success. And come on, old Raiders, you guys that are now in your late 40s and 50s, get busy, join them.
Yeah, let's go.
Jeremy, thank you very much.
Ben, thank you so much, and we'll be in touch. Thanks again, Ben.
Bye-bye.